Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Oh, we are back. Today is March the 12th of 2023. What were you doing 3 years ago? Were you a strong hand like me? Or did you think the world was ending? And did you sell all your Bitcoin when it went below $4,000? You weak hand. Pound that like button. Strong hand. Long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Yeah, you see the shirt. This is a shirt. You're going to be able to buy this shirt. It's linked to below. Neil is here. He's going to talk about it. Don't worry. We got so much. In motion. We've got in motion guests. And guess what, people? Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. I'm offended by selling, but guess what? There's been breaking news. And, well, you really know that personal responsibility is the new counterculture because there's basically the banks aren't going to go down tomorrow or anything like that. Now we know what's going to happen on Monday, even though the title of this video is like, what the heck is going to happen on Monday? Hello, my elite friends. You've got questions. We got answers. Put them in there. Marco, you asked about the about stable coins. We'll talk about the Fed coin and the ushering in of central bank digital currencies. I think this episode what just happened with the banks and everything will be used as somehow twisted in a way to bring it in. We'll talk about that. But guys, if you got questions, do the super chat. Type in BitcoinMeister. And just retweet this. A lot of you retweeted it. And it's really cool to have this panel. Q, I have been on his show before. He hasn't been on my show before. Mike is in the house, and he is a behind-the-scenes guy in a lot of things that go down, with tone and just with a lot of stuff. It's a guy I've known for quite some time. But, yeah, I mean, you guys might not know him because he's basically behind the scenes, but he's got an awesome freaking business he's going to talk about. He's in motion. And then we got Neil Jacobs. You guys know Neil. You know him. I mean, he's the shirt guy. He's all over. He's on the you do the things on the what's that platform called? I don't even, I don't do it. This Twitter Spaces, one of those damn things. I mean, you do things. You're all over the place, Neil. You're a wild man. And he sent me these shirts. This Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. I believe. I mean, it is. It's not just a saying. It's also a shirt. It's a mantra. This is hardcore. You can tell I'm freaking pumped. I'm in South Carolina, baby. Greenville, South Carolina. Who's going to start the show? Well, why not let Q start the show? Because he said, I'm wondering why the Bitcoin price is it jumped up to 22,000. I'm like, oh, was there an announcement? And sure enough, there was an announcement. So Q, take it away, baby.
I'm just going to read the title, but it should explain everything going on. The Federal Reserve Board announced it will make available additional funding to eligible depository institutions to help assure banks have the ability to meet the needs of all their depositors, i.e., the Fed will backstop the banks to avoid a bank run. And this was announced less than an hour ago. So you couldn't have picked a better time to have us on, Adam, to discuss.
Yeah, when I was planning this show, I guess a little less than a week ago, there wasn't that much to talk about. Then all of a sudden we have what was the first bank that went down? I keep forgetting. It's Silvergate. And so let's start with that actually here, because there are some people that say that part of the reason this, I think Nick Carter is one of these people that says part of the reason Silvergate went down is because our government was not friendly. Our government is fascist, basically. It picks winners and losers. It likes the big banks, the small banks, especially the ones that deal with crypto. It's getting in their way now. So they made some bad investments also. And I forgot if which one did Elizabeth Warren badmouth? Silvergate, or did she badmouth Silicon Valley? Silvergate. It was Silver. Okay, so it started. So the Bitcoin price crashed at the beginning of once everyone's like, well, Silvergate does business with Bitcoin companies, so let's all panic and sell our Bitcoin. I mean, this became the third episode during the 2022-2023 bear market. The third time where there's been a panic. Now, the Juneteenth one and then the SBF one on November 10th, they were worse than this. So I was like, okay, this is cool. But then I started figuring out, oh my God, on Monday, who knows what's going to happen? Because the way things are shaping up, everybody is going to not be confident in these small banks anymore. They're going to try to put their money in big banks, or who knows what they're going to try to do. So I was, as a Bitcoiner though, I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it might spook the price some more. It might go up. It might go down, whatever. But I'm not screwed. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, Bitcoin isn't going bankrupt like the banks. I mean, it is what it is. You control your own private key. No one is stealing from you. You don't have to worry about bailouts. It's personal responsibility is the very essence of it. So I didn't think the government would flinch this quick. I thought something might happen tomorrow. So what is your take on the whole situation from Silver? We'll stick with Q here, from Silver Gate to now.
I mean, I think the thing that needs to be clarified on Silvergate, despite the fact that it is sort of the quote unquote crypto friendly bank, like the reason why they eventually on Thursday had to announce that they're going to just shutter bank operations and shut down is the exact same thing, is for the exact same reason that we saw Silicon Valley Bank deal with its issues that we're now talking about. People are withdrawing their money. People don't trust this bank. They don't think that their money is safe under the sort of supervision or whatever you want to call it if they open an account with these banks. So too many people withdrew their money. At least those depositors at Silvergate were able to be made whole. And then, of course, all you have to say is one wrong thing. All you have to, the markets are moved more by human psychology than it is by profits, products, or anything else. Human psychology is what moves the markets. And so unfortunately, when too many people are afraid and think, hey, I have money tied up at Silicon Valley Bank, or I have money tied up in Silvergate, and I don't know if I can trust that this bank can actually keep my money safe, I should probably go put it over in JP Morgan. And that's why you saw all of these tiny ass banks on Friday, not only Silicon Valley, but loads of other banks, local banks, trading in sympathy, going down 10+% on Friday. But who's going up? JP Morgan.
Yeah.
So it's not a bank-wide industry. It's a small bank issue. And unfortunately, the posturing that the federal government is doing with this announcement is more, again, to feed into the psychology of people to say, hey, your money is safe. We, the federal government, assure you that your money is safe. But they're not telling you how it's safe. They're not telling you why it's safe, but they're just assuring people for right now.
Yeah. So tomorrow, if the government wouldn't have interfered, Wells Fargo wasn't going out of business tomorrow. It was going to get more clients. It was the small ones. Just to put that out there. And let's move on to Mike here. You've been around for a while, as I said. I think a two-part. You could comment on all the bank stuff. Obviously, I'm sure you have some opinions. But this is again all happening during, for me, a predictable Bitcoin bear market. And what Q said, it is all the psychology. I mean, it's so predictable now. How the traders work. They see something bad happen on the periphery of Bitcoin, not to Bitcoin, and they start scaring people to sell, and then they buy for cheap or whatever. I mean, this, in a sense, a lot of people, this is 2019 all over again, but a little bit different. We're not, guys, we're going to stick in the bear market. This is going to be a bear market all year. I am sticking with it. This is 2019 again. This is 2015 again, rhyming. Okay, I'm throwing it out there. I want to know, Mike, and what everybody thinks about that. But Mike, give your, and again, all these guys are linked below. If you want their products and everything, please follow them on Twitter immediately, right this second. Take it away, Mike, with your take on the banks, and is this, what do you think about the bear market and its similarities with other ones?
There's so much here. Okay, so first off, on the Silvergate, okay. It's a major issue for legitimate Bitcoin companies to even get an account, period, in the first place. Okay. All over. All right. And even something you might think like in El Salvador, something like Bitcoin Beach Wallet that touches fiat. Okay. There's challenges over there. You can't get an account in a country where it's been made legal tender because they can lose their banking relationship with whoever they bank with in the US, because the US is so hardcore right now. So that's like all over the world. Okay. So by losing Silvergate, you really only have one person left in the space, and that's Signature Bank, who's already publicly said they're stepping back from all the crypto. We have a lot of companies I'm a payments guy. I'm a fintech guy. These companies that kind of bridge that gap between the traditional finance stuff, the companies we all love, Fold or Bitstack or Amber, Swan, Pay with Moon. I mean, whatever, right? They're dealing with fiat. They can't even, in a lot of times, even get operating accounts just because they are ultimately found out, right? Even something simple like maybe like the Fountain app, you can use your credit card or buy Bitcoin within an app or whatever, or a Lightning wallet or anything, right? It's really challenging. So that's a big part of the Silvergate. Q also said small banks, and Silicon Valley Bank is by no means a small bank. It's actually the second largest bank failure in US history. Okay. And it's unique because it directly affects startup companies, early stage companies, where our innovation as a country comes out of. Okay, this is a breast cancer company. This is flying cars. This is whatever it is. All right. And, to responsibly keep your money in a money market account as an operating account, and then wake up and have it vaporized, right? And you got a statement every month. They said it said like Barclays money market or Goldman Sachs money market, and then reaching out to these other institutions being like XYZ with Silicon Valley Bank, you could only log in through your Silicon Valley Bank portal. The other institutions are telling you, it's not your money. It's Silicon Valley Bank's money. Okay, so we all know they bought 10-year treasuries. In the startup environment, you need capital a lot. Okay, it's volatile. So, 2% bonds for a lot of that cash. So 20 and 21 were record years, right? So as companies are raising tons of money, the company's got to deposit it somewhere, and everyone banks with Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank has been around since the 80s. They make intros. They're very helpful to their companies. They do creative other debt things. They take warrants. Okay. So if I'm loaning a company warrant money from Silicon Valley Bank, all right, I will hopefully get all my money back with interest. Plus I'll also get some warrants on that. Right. And those warrants can be very meaningful. In 2021, that was a record year. That was a ton of money for the bank. All right. And it's the first time ever that there's been a kind of a digital age on a bank run. Like Neil said, it's not people lined up around the corner. There's a lot of great classic pictures of that. This is like wires in the hopper that didn't get out in time. And I just think it has terrible implications for our country and for these companies. And, people are saying I'm a socialist right now. This is what this time is for. It's now or never. That's why these safety nets are in place. Okay. They're going to print money all day long. Fiat's a scam. The whole thing's a joke. They're going to print money all day long to do all sorts of shit that is absolutely absurd, right? They should at least backstop this right now. Now, to what you said about that story that just broke, I didn't read that. But, they had made a statement yesterday saying we are committed to future banks. Okay, which everyone got into a tizzy about, because does that mean they're not talking about SVB and including that? Because it's a highly concentrated amount of startups. Okay, this isn't 08. This isn't shitty loans and potential fraud. Okay, this was an accounting error. The bank was actually too small to be regulated in the same way that the big fours are. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but they didn't have to go through that
250 million or billion.
Okay. So it's a learning experience. Let's raise the FDIC. Let's put some confidence back into it. Okay. These assets, even though funded by taxpayers, will be assets on the balance sheet of the US government. Okay. These warrants, whatever they're getting, it's not a freaking bailout to save any sort of, scammy banker, right? The bank goes to zero. Their equity goes to zero. Hopefully they claw back anything that the executives sold a few days before and do a thorough investigation on that. But I just can't imagine letting these companies fail. And lastly, TARP, okay, their money printing machine before, that actually turned like close to a $30 million profit, $30 billion profit for the US government when companies like Tesla, et cetera, paid back their loans with interest. There's ways to properly handle this. And I'm calling for Friday. That should have been the case. This should already be happening. Okay. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling, but let me say one thing. I've invested in over 1,500 companies. So there's a lot of updates right now from a lot of things that I've invested in on the situation, with stories from founders about, I was out of the country, I couldn't log into my thing, this, that, and the other. We had a wire in the hopper, it didn't get set out in time. We had advice from so-and-so to stand by Silicon Valley Bank. We listened to this person. We got it out just in time. We got it out the night before. You know, like there's a lot of variance here with how that whole thing worked.
Whoa, you definitely said a lot there. Pound that like button, dude. Do you think, oh, well, first of all, I mean, a couple questions come out of this. I mean, what do you think of the people? I mean, you talk about the companies that had money there. And it is, again, when I say big bank, I just mean it's not one of the behemoths, you know, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, and the other one, Citi. I mean, but these, is it a little surprising to you? There are so many people. What you have a logical reasoning why what is happening, and you know it's not a real bailout. I mean, you've got your take on it, and I'm sure Neil will have a take on it too. But what do you think about the people who didn't know, the individuals who didn't know the FDIC limit of 200? They only cover $250,000.
I know Neil wants to talk, but let me just say one thing. Is there anyone on this planet that doesn't know that FDIC is $250K? Is there anyone alive that doesn't?
Thank you.
Went through YC, you went through Techstars. You got to be a fucking venture-funded company, and you never read the goddamn plaque. I'm sorry. Oh,
they
sorry.
didn't.
No cursing. No cursing.
No, none. You're right. But
and it's also just I want to add this point really quickly. I'm sorry, Neil, because you haven't gotten a chance to talk. It's been $250K since 1933. This isn't a new rule. This has been around since longer than you, I, or any of us.
It was 100. It was 100.
It hasn't.
It was 100. It switched in 2008.
2008, they raised it to $250,000.
But still, it was 100.
I'm an idiot.
Has been around for years and years and years, and people were going to find out about it. And some people who have over 250 in the bank, which is quite a lot of people, were going to move all their money from these smaller banks to the four I mentioned beforehand. And that was going to cause some problems tomorrow, and it was going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, we got to give Neil the word here. I'll add on another topic. Is the U.S. government going to use, or is the Fed going to use this as an excuse to not raise rates and make people happy too? So, but Neil, you got a lot to say, so take it away.
You know, I'm very sympathetic to everything Mike just said, and it sucks that like Bitcoin-related companies are very intertwined with these banks because they're the only ones that would do banking services with these, you know, Bitcoin companies. However, you know, now the U.S. government, the FDIC, whatever, has basically de facto said deposits are now 100% insured at all banks, right? Isn't that what they said? Basically by doing this. And now, you know, if I'm a bank and I get deposits, I could be more risky with the money, right? Like I don't have this, Mike's already shaking his head. I have this responsibility like I had before. And I just think it sets a bad precedent. I don't think Silvergate or Silicon Valley should have been the examples necessarily, but why do we even have FDIC insurance or any of this shit anyway? It's just 100 deposits can never, you know, disappear. That's it. That's what happened today. And if you think that's a good thing, fine. But, you know, it just reinforces why Bitcoin's so important. Rules, not rulers, where the game is changed, you know, on a Sunday night.
I mean, do you think the government is to blame it all for creating an environment of the initial distrust in Silicon Valley, or in the other one? Like
Elizabeth Warren? Oh, she like poured gasoline on the fire for sure.
Okay.
But at the same time, like you say, personal responsibility is the new counterculture. And a lot of these fucking VCs that were like, and I'm not talking about someone like Mike, but these like David Sachs that are worth hundreds of millions and the Jason Calacanis, like screaming in all caps on Twitter, hysterics, as they were dumping their Solana bags on people during the last crypto thing. It's like, fuck you guys. But at the same time, like I said, I'm sympathetic to like people like Mike and obviously Bitcoin companies going through this right now. I just think, you know, what does this mean going forward? That's the bigger question. It's the moral hazard going forward.
Yeah, well, that's something that needs to be considered. Speaking of Solana, Vinny Lingham said, if Silicon Valley Bank is a total collapse this weekend, it will start bank runs on other small banks and concentrate more money into the bigger banks. If there isn't a positive outcome by Sunday, I highly recommend you open an account with one of the 4 big banks and move your cash out. Well, he got his positive outcome. Those types, I mean, Vinny's. You can learn a lot from Vinny. You can learn a lot from David Sachs and everything. But they were leaning toward this. What ended up happening here? And again, this is. I mean, it's a Nick Carter argument too. And I just before I think Mike's got something. First of all, this one in New York just went down too. Here, what Signature Bank closed?
Signature Bank officially, they closed it officially.
But it looks like that press release was done around the same time as the Fed press release. So that might just be based on previous panic. If they only could have hung out on a little longer, they might.
No, I'm pretty sure they're 100% of their deposits are fine too, based on what I was reading. But what you were saying that deposits were going to flow out to the big banks. They already did this weekend. A ton of them. Yeah. I'm looking at Lisa Huff on Twitter. She's a Bitcoiner. She used to work at Unchained Capital. She wrote from a source she has. JP Morgan has been working all weekend in commercial customer service and has opened 300 commercial accounts totaling over $6 billion. So, like, the money's already been flowing out of a lot of these.
But the trust has been broken.
It's shameful that that a lot of it. I mean, we don't know exactly where the small bank people were putting their money. They should have been putting them in Bitcoin immediately, but no, they stayed in the banking. They went to Wells Fargo. Bitcoin over Wells Fargo, people. Pound that like button. And real quick, do you think this will be used as an excuse for to stop raising rates by the Fed or slowing down the raising of rates?
No, because they did the bailout here, or whatever you want to call it, the backstop.
No, not. But they're just like, okay, we did this bailout thing, but also let's do this too because we can't trust these small banks. I don't know. I thought
they would have had a bit if they let them, I guess, depositors go under, and there were other bank runs. Then they would have had an excuse. But now we bailed out the depositors. We've stopped the bleeding. And we could continue with our interest rate hikes because we're still fighting inflation. But
the thing that's going to happen, I think, if they keep up with the interest rate hikes, it's going to happen again. Yeah, the ocean is going back out. The people who are naked are going to be exposed. And there'll be something else that they'll have to add onto this package. I mean, it could get even though it looks like banks are there's no need for FDIC insurance anymore. It's just like, don't worry. Something else worse can happen maybe. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just so glad I'm in freaking Bitcoin. Mike, you've got responses.
Okay. I mean, it's been 90 years. Maybe it's time to revisit how FDIC even works in this day and age. Maybe that whole just dollar amount limit and the way that it is, maybe that just needs to be rethought of, right? In a new 2023 way, back to the drawing board instead of just raise the limit. I don't know. But like, it's not effective. And 250,000, if you're burning 50K a month, 30K a month, 17K a month. I mean, if you raise around, what are you supposed to do? Like go out and open a bunch of bank accounts and kind of do this whole thing? Like that's absurd. And it's not that these companies, it doesn't give them a pass, Neil. It doesn't give them a pass to like do it again. There's stringent regulations, but there's a bunch of little anomalies unique with this SVB thing that are going to be closed. The not marking the bonds mark to market. It's not a loss. It's not an updated balance sheet item until they sell. So they lost a shitload of money on these bonds. Okay, they shouldn't have been allowed to do that. Right? It's probably a good time to rethink the FDIC. But I mean, the implications here for these companies, it's hard enough to just scale. It's hard enough to just do what they're doing, and then to wake up and just have it be over. I mean, it can't happen. Okay. And I know you're saying, oh, the Fed said they're going to be there or whatever. Let's see, though. How long does this take? What are still the implications? Is it just poof? They're going to move their money somewhere. I mean, the bank is done. So either way, if the Fed gives them the money or however long that process takes to unwind, and let's just say that it's 100 cents on the dollar. Okay. Let's say that it's 100 cents on the dollar. However long that money's got to move somewhere. So is it going to go into another regional bank? Is it going to go into another small bank? Hell no. Okay. So of course they're happy to see these type of crises, right? Because, you know, after the Great Depression, I think 600 regional banks closed a year for the following 3 years. And the same thing happened after 08. I mean, it just decimates the whole sector. On another note, if Silvergate was actually allowed to do what they intended to do, right, which was be a crypto bank or a crypto first friendly, you know, on the tip of it for all these companies, which they were for a while through previous administration, how they could operate, they just have so much pressure. They basically got forced out of business because that's what they do. They specialize in that sort of thing. And when the government cracks down on that, it makes it even harder and harder. But yeah, is a digital bank run in this crazy environment, the mismatch of treasuries with the needing short-term capital. I mean, they just have to fix it so it can't happen again. And I'd be devastated to see all these companies dead for this. That's unacceptable, I think.
I want to clarify one thing. I got two things to say. Singer, and because Q is raising his hand, so he's got to go next. But Signature Bank, I said they if they only could have stuck around for longer. I know that all the people are going to be made whole there. That's obvious. But part of the reason they went down was out of the initial fear, and now the initial fear is gone. Like because of what the government just put a backstop in there. So in theory, they got some bad timing there. I mean, if there was no government backstop coming as it is. Tomorrow, there'd be many other banks, smaller banks going down. The other thing I just want to put in everybody's head, just to remind everyone, I'm not a politics only goes to a certain level. Being president only means so much. We put these people on pedestals. They do set the tone, though. And we are still living in an era. I mean, it could be 2024 easily. Elizabeth Warren could become the president of the United States. I just want everybody to remember that still. And to make that, if you're going to get involved in presidential politics, make that your priority for her not to. That's the one, if you're going to get involved, that's the worst. And I've said this for quite some time. On stage, I said it in LA at the conference, that she is the worst possible person to be president of the United States for Bitcoin. Because that's her whole spiel now is like, crypto rich people are bad. Let's blame all our problems on them. Like, you know who blamed you know who during World War II. All right. So let's go to Q.
I just want to add a couple of things here. And I will start by saying the first people that are at fault to be blamed are the executives over at Silicon Valley Bank. They did not handle any sort of risk management whatsoever. They did not hedge against all of the long-dated mortgage-backed securities and 10-year treasury bonds that they were buying. So right off the bat, they were just sort of being reckless with all these people's monies. The second person to blame, and people are going to come at me and say, oh, I'm just a Trump hysteric, is actually Donald Trump, and I will explain why. In 2018, he changed the Dodd-Frank Act, which was created after 2008, which required banks with over $50 billion in assets to have to go through strict stress tests. But Donald Trump changed that to $250 billion. But guess what Silicon Valley Bank did? Instead of maintaining and growing their assets, once they got to their $200 billion, they would lobby to make sure that this level stayed this high so they didn't have to go through stress tests. Otherwise, if they went through a stress test, they would have looked at their assets and said, hey, wait a minute, why do you have so much allocation to these long-dated treasury yields, long-dated bonds? And of course, the icing on the cake of all of this, these Silicon Valley Bank executives walked out with their bonuses on Wednesday, and then on Thursday told their entire staff, oh, we can't pay you on payroll, but we need you guys to keep working for us. So look, I would love nothing more than to see a banker go to jail, but if I learned anything after 2008, no one is going to pay a cent. No one is going to get in trouble for this. They're just going to sweep it under the rug, move on. And Mike, I do want to address this because I may sound crass saying it, but there is a little bit of risk management that needs to be expected on the hands of these businesses. And I genuinely hope that all these businesses are made whole and they learn from this, and that they do have 20 different bank accounts that cap out at the FDIC insured limit, because that needs to be the lesson here. And also the other part, the FDIC insurance, they don't have enough money. If every single account were to go under, or every bank were to go under, they don't have enough money to make people whole just to the $250K cap right now. So there's another element of this that like we are literally playing on the last, or we're playing musical chairs at this point.
You don't need 25 bank accounts, right? Bitcoin Tina tweeted something out earlier that I really liked, because Jim Bianco, who was complaining about a lot of stuff, he was saying how Roku had $487 million in one account at this bank, at Silicon Valley Bank. And Tina said that corporations with $487 million should have a basic understanding of cash management, treasuries, money markets. This was reckless behavior. They made bad decisions and need to get in line and hope for the best. So look, for the company, the startup that raised like $300,000, $500,000, like I said, I'm sympathetic towards that. But these like big mega corporations to now be completely backstopped, it's ridiculous.
I want to add, I hope this is the first step for people to get used to being paid in Bitcoin, demanding they're paid in Bitcoin, doing all their business in Bitcoin. Then you don't have to worry about the fiat on-ramp and the funding through the fiat and everything. We got to get a total Bitcoin loop ecosystem here, which clearly does not exist now. Many people in the space really rely on fiat still, and you can tell by the tweets. And that's the way of the world. And some people are just, that's just the way it's set. But I hope this changes things. Puts people
are waking up. People are waking up. The death of the fiat system will be by like 1,000 cuts. It's not going to be one thing. This is definitely one of them. Look, on Friday, some guy, I won't say who it is, he has a podcast, he's older, he does like trading, he's not a big Bitcoiner, reached out to me Friday afternoon and says, Neil, could you help me learn how to get self-custody Bitcoin? This is as all this banking stuff is going down. And this is someone who was on the fence for like a year. So things are happening. These kind of things are important.
Okay, I don't think the fiat system is going away, by the way.
No.
What I think is just the elite 20%ers got to get their act together and just make the Bitcoin overlay, make it work totally where you do not have to touch fiat at all. And I've tried my best to do that. I mean, my bank account is really small compared to my Bitcoin account. But again, we don't need, I think some people think of one extreme or another. We got to kill fiat. Let's not obsess over that. It's going to be around. Let's, just try to make it so not as many hardcore Bitcoin people get into these situations where it is apparent they are very much dependent on that system that they hate. What was my other? Okay, so Mike, you probably have something to say.
If you want to run a profitable real business, like you have to deal with fiat. There's very few that can accept no fiat, whether that's payroll or your health insurance or whatever you do. So, to be like, you should just only accept Bitcoin, it's not there yet. When it is there, that would be incredible. There's companies like Scarce City, 100% of their income is all in is a Bitcoin only company, right? But they still have a bank account. They're still incorporated. So you're saying like, let these companies fail or let them just lose. I think they're going to wake up. They're going to wake up still on another place to park your money, but their job, it just can't happen. Okay. There's over-regulation in every possible way. Okay. I'm not for that. But standards to where this doesn't happen, you have to do it. And, before every company, I was going to make a joke that Unchained, this has got to be the best thing to happen for them. Because think of all the corporate new accounts that want a collaborative multi-sig for some of their treasury, right? And there's risks to that too, right? Because you could do that at 60K and still be sitting here today, right? You may need that money to fund fiat operations. You have a burn rate. There's risks on the other side with the stuff too. But look, this is going to be good for Bitcoin. I just can't imagine these companies failing. I think people who have the attitude of, fuck them, or let them go is not the right not the right attitude. There's no empathy there. There's no compassion. This could have been you. This could have been Neil. Maybe his shirt shop, FOMO 21, maybe, he raised $380,000 with a very small pre-seed round. And, maybe he wasn't like insane. And he left that in Silicon Valley Bank because that's kind of like a normal thing. He'd be out with that, and that would be terrible.
Not only America, and I fucking hate them. But that's besides.
well, first off, it wouldn't have really been a personal account, likely. And by the way, I think
I'm not talking about a personal account. No, I'm saying for my business.
Yeah. But I mean, if you accepted venture funding, it was like par for the course for like the longest time. And I believe 97% of the Silicon Valley Bank funds had over the 250 to put.
It was like 85 or something. Like it's a significant amount of these accounts.
And like I said, like I'm sympathetic to, I don't think all of these depositors should lose 100% of their money. Like but should there have been some sort of haircut? Maybe.
I want to say that I think this is going to help usher in the legitimacy of central bank digital currencies in the United States. They're going to say, well, instead of us having this backstop, it'll just be much easier that you have your own account directly with the Fed. We don't need these small banks we can't trust anymore. What's your take on that, Q? Is this the road to CBDC slavery?
I mean,
or are they going to use it is Elizabeth Warren going to be screaming about that? I mean, is it a way to make these things legitimate now that we've had this crisis? I mean, and again, the government's going to say, well, we helped averted we made sure there wasn't a crisis. Look at what we did. We could do something even better with these CBDCs. Take it away.
I'm going to answer your question by not answering it, but I'm still wearing the tinfoil hat with you. I think really what this is going to do, as we've discussed, there are a lot of startups that use Silicon Valley Bank, including a lot of startups that adhere to a lot of, the green energy movement. You've seen quotes and stuff talking about how like Silicon Valley Bank is the only bank that gives LGBTQ sort of businesses the loans they need. Like this is the bank we need, guys. This is literally this administration's opportunity to inject so much capital into the industries that they want to see succeed, akin to exactly what Obama did with Tesla and Elon Musk. And they threw so much money at Tesla that Tesla couldn't fail. Tesla was going to succeed because the government gave it enough money. And we're about to see this type of injection happen to those type of companies. To talk about the CBD side of it, I don't think that we're going to get an actual traditional CBDC because it's just too much infighting. The only avenue I think we do see some sort of a CBDC get rolled out is actually if the Fed struggles to temper inflation. That is the path I think that the CBDC would have to take.
All right. Neil, your thoughts on my comments about CBDCs being ushered in?
I just don't know how the private banking system in this country, CBDCs aren't good for them, right? The JP Morgan Chase, I don't know how that works. And I think CBDCs are going to happen in a lot of other countries first, if they do happen, as like a testing ground.
Well, let me put the scenario on the table. If Elizabeth Warren becomes president, then it becomes a legitimate policy to nationalize the banks. There'll be no private banks anymore. That becomes, if we've gone that crazy to elect a woman like that president of the United States, then it will be a legitimate option to nationalize the banks, like in Argentina when they had that woman down there. This is it said. We're getting close to that point. So that would very easily usher in CBDCs. If all the banks are nationalized, you don't have to worry about Bank of America anymore, and they'll get paid off or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It would be insane.
Well, Adam, let me ask you that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Neil, go.
No, I'm not a fan of Elizabeth Warren. I've tweeted out that she should resign like multiple times. It's still hard in the United States to do something that drastic. I'm not saying it can't get to that point, but it's still difficult. The Republicans and the Democrats, they're still everything's so divided. It's hard to get something major.
Yeah, I think it would lead to nullification in certain states. But you say it's so hard to do. Look what some of our states did the last 3 years in terms of the virus. I would have said all of that was impossible. New York City shutting down the way it did. Who would have imagined such a? I mean, that is it's Chinese rule type of stuff, authoritarian insanity.
Agreed.
So,
that was a state by state thing.
Yeah, it was. It was, but that is what will. I think the bank, they will try. They might nationalize some banks, but in certain states they might be like, no, we got armed guards that are allowing these. We're still going to have private banks in our state, and we just won't follow the federal government. I think it could come to that. That's true nullification of the national law. Now it'll get rid of the bigger banks. They'll all worship. But I think, Florida. I mean, this is wacky scenarios here. But I'm just telling you how quote unquote nationalization could happen. How a CBDC could happen. It's easier to do CBDC than nationalization.
There are a lot of Democrats too, though, that are funded by the big banks and the bankers. So I don't think it's as cut as dry. Now you could have someone like Elizabeth Warren that's her mission, but I don't think it'll be easy.
It is her mission. It is.
Adam, can I
Yes.
pose a question to you?
Yes.
How is the Federal Reserve announcing that they will backstop all of these deposits? Is that not a degree of nationalization of?
Yes,
the
it is. It is fascism. It is the private industry being this private industry is being favored by the government, picking winners and losers, making sure that that their friends do well. They're still privately owned, but like the government has a huge. They're at the work. They have to follow the government line. The government controls them in a way. So it's the ultimate economic fascism. I mean, it's Klaus Schwab. It's stakeholder capital. It's everything. I mean, this is it's a nightmare type of situation. If you look at it that there is no. Yeah, we've lost the meaning of the. Unfortunately, I mean, you brought up Dodd-Frank beforehand. I don't think there should be any regulation in the banking industry whatsoever. I mean, at all. Just like let people, especially now that we have Bitcoin. If you don't trust it, then just go to then trust yourself. I mean. Figure it out, but people will they'll have to be. If we didn't have Dodd-Frank and all that stuff, these banks, and they were truly private, they would be forced to be incredibly transparent. But we're way down the road of regulation and the intertwining of finance and state. There should be separation of money and state, and it has not been that way since the 1800s. I mean, Thomas Jefferson be rolling in his grave right now. I mean, this is. It's insanity what we got going on. But that's the cool thing about Bitcoin. We can complain and scream and blame people. And I don't, but we're in the Bitcoin overlay and we don't have to worry. In a sense, we don't have to worry about it. You can position yourself so you don't have to worry about economic fascism and stakeholder capitalism or whatever you want, or Klaus Schwab or whatever you want to call it. But yes, it is. It is very close. It's a cousin of nationalization. What is going on? Yes.
Government's been picking winners and losers for decades. As long as I've been alive, they pick winners and losers. I'd love to get inside Mike's head right now. I see him making like faces every once in a while.
Yeah, Mike, take it.
Okay. First off, you're talking about CBDCs and the ushering of. We have CBDCs. Log into your Chase account. It's already a CBDC. Like, what more do you need?
I can tell you. This is the way. CBDC. Only certain people will be able to do certain things with their CBDC. They'll be very custom made. Like the way that we'll do reparations will be through the CBDC, and only certain people will be able to get the reparations CBDC, which will only be good to buy houses or something at negative 10% interest rates. I mean, you could do a lot more with CBDCs than the digital money that is available right now. They can get creative with this. They really can get creative with the CBDC stuff. It's quite imaginative, actually, and I'm interested to see
exactly. Right now, it's all imaginative, and it's whack job, and it's way out there, and it's not even, I mean, it's sci-fi. It would make a good movie. Oh, it already has.
I would not. I don't like conspiracies or anything like that. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't. But this is. I mean, it's going to happen. There's going to be a Fed coin of some sort, and of course, the federal government will do a horrible job with it in many ways. Because the federal, I don't think they'll do a good job, and it's going to take them a while to hire cryptocurrency people that are actually competent to sort of run it. But something will happen. We will have something different than plain old digital currencies. They got to be able to figure out a way to do negative interest rates and do negative mortgage rates. It's going to be amazing. Negative 10% mortgage from the government. You're going to get it. It's going to be wild for reparations. That is your 50 acres and a mule is a freaking 10. It's going to be negative 10% interest rates on your CBDCs. And I'm not joking. I think that's a creative way to do it. Maybe it'll stop. I mean, never mind. In theory, if they were to do that, there should be no more welfare anymore. But, they won't. Once you have one social program, you can't get rid of it, apparently. Anyway,
right now, they just print money to steal from us, right? Yeah. So negative interest rates, though, could be, forget even the negative, that's just like more blatant, right? Negative interest rates. Right now, they just print the money instead. Negative interest rates would just be more direct. It's more about the targeting of specific individuals under a CBDC that I think is a lot more frightening, where at least in today's society with paper money, you still have cash. You have some flexibility, and obviously with Bitcoin too.
Yeah, turning off people's accounts and making their CBDC no longer work, like their food central bank digital currency. They're on Snap, so they get a special coin that only allows them to get food and beer and cigarettes and everything. And then all of a sudden they did something, like they said something good about Trump, and then no longer they can't get food anymore. Yeah, that's pretty sinister, and that's different than just a regular digital currency. And people are going to get. It's going to be so tempting. At first, it's going to be all, people are like, oh yeah, free money, negative interest rates. Look at all these things, reparations, all this. And you just get people further hooked into this system. But the penalties of speaking against the system will be easily enforced. I mean, they're not hiding. I mean, right now, Biden and stuff, they specifically target specific belief. They say the villains are MAGA people. Now, think what you want about MAGA people, but we never had leaders that would openly blame specific parts of the population. I mean, this is crazy.
That's not true. This country has put blame on specific smaller demographics and groups.
Okay, but they never had the technology to actually implement it. I mean, it's pretty sickening to hear it in this modern age. I mean, we grew up in a time where there was not talk about my religion or another race being a problem by elected officials. That's really not been a thing since the 80s or whatever. But it's class warfare now, it's different. People think it's just as bad to blame a class as to blame a religion, but people don't realize that. But again, I'm going down a different thing. But no, you make a legitimate point that I should just never say never. But what we're used to, just think that they can. I mean, what happened in Canada? Canada is basically the United States, but the truckers, they didn't like their political things, so they cut them off. Financially, they made private banks cut them off. It'll be much easier to do it if all those dudes are hooked on some type of Fed coin. All right, I went down. Let's do some conclusionary remarks on. Well, first of all. I don't want to run out of time here. I want everybody to talk about their projects, okay? That's very important because, you see me wearing Neil's shirt and everything. I want Mike to explain. I mean, you intrigued everyone by saying that you invest in so many companies and everything. Everyone is very interested in this. Say the name of your company and, what you do. And I mean, the behind the scenes awesome stuff you've been doing because you do want these companies to grow. It's so obvious. You want these companies to grow. And you've seen something get in the way of that, and you've got interest in this, and we all love this industry, and we want to see so many different companies, not just technically oriented ones, but shirt ones and everything. So anybody trying to hinder it it's not too cool, but like Elizabeth Warren and everything. So take it away, Mike. Tell them what you do over there.
Yeah, so my company is Lightning Ventures, and it's ltng.ventures, and we are a Bitcoin-focused boutique venture fund. So we just focus on the Bitcoin space and startups and founders, a lot of cool companies in the space that we all know and love. And we're deploying out of a very small fund that we raised like a year and a half ago, right? Small compared to the other people in the Bitcoin VC world. And we have a syndicate where anyone can invest in Bitcoin companies and get started with angel investing. So that's investing on the same terms as a lot of the VCs and suits and all the fancy people that invest in the Bitcoin companies that we all know, use, and love. You too can invest in small amounts of money and be impactful, get updates from the company, see how you can help. It's great for networking and other partnerships. Maybe you have another company that works with them. So I'm trying to build this nice, amazing network of awesome people that are, all have their own superpowers to contribute then. So when we get an update from a company, maybe they're looking to hire someone, maybe they want to get in touch with the Meister for maybe a new affiliate thing, and they think Adam would be great, okay, or whatever they need, we can help them out. So prior to that, I had invested in a lot of other companies, some Bitcoin ones, but mainly all sorts of other crazy things in the world. So that's where a lot of those 1,500 is. I'm thinking with Lightning Ventures, we've invested in maybe 39 or 30 or so companies to date. And those are a lot of the ones that we all love. So I'm bullish that the investments in early stage technology companies will outpace the price of Bitcoin. You will be stuck with fiat, but it's a great way to diversify your HODL position and have different kind of exposure to a whole different class. If you're a Bitcoiner, you're still early in Bitcoin and you're way early with a lot of these companies. So that's pretty much it. That's what I do.
This dude is in motion. Pound that like button. Link to below. Go. If you're interested, please go check everything out. Very important. Again, this is an interactive show. Just don't be a tree. Be in motion. Like a lot of people are just like, well, I'll just watch what the algorithm tells me to watch, and then I'll complain about the YouTube algorithm. No, check out the links below. And most of you won't. That are watching this now. You're totally algorithm slaves or 80%ers. I don't care if you think I'm insulting my freaking audience, because I know most people are lazy bums and they don't do anything. I read all the I pay attention to who the people are on these shows. I check out their Twitters. Most people aren't proactive like that, and they're like, can you tell me X, Y, and Z? I'm like, can you use Google, dude? We have so many tools. People don't use it anymore. It's disgraceful. And I've talked about this many times. If you don't like the algorithms of these freaking social media platforms and everything, I mean, use Twitter as a web page. You don't have to go see what Twitter tells you to watch. Just, investigate Twitter, check out different feeds. All right, now let's go to another dude who's in motion here. T-shirts, baby. This is awesome stuff. I love the freaking T-shirts. I wore one on the Beyond Bitcoin show. Neil, take it away. Your company. Buy the T-shirts, people. It's linked to below. It's tell us what you're doing, how it's going, Neil.
Yeah, I just want to say Mike is one of the hardest working people behind the scenes. People do not know this. And like you say, he doesn't complain. He builds. Build, don't complain, right? That's what you say. What do I do? Mike says I just shit post on the internet and show up to parties. But I do. I also I have a podcast called Inside Bitcoin. I help promote all the major Bitcoin conferences. And as you mentioned, and you're wearing one of our shirts, I have a Bitcoin-only merch company, FOMO21, started about a year ago last week. Someone reached out to me in the Bitcoin space who was in the merch and apparel industry for like 20 years and said, Neil, I like your Bitcoin ethos. Love to do this with you. And yeah, I have a fun time. I get to put memes in motion. I get to put memes into real life, throw them on T-shirts, and I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, there are a lot of good shirts over there too. I really love this one, man. I mean, I never had an Israel Bitcoin shirt before. That's what I wore on the previous show. And it's an orange flag of Israel with a little Bitcoin in the center. It was so cool. It was great.
Look, if you want another one, if there's anything else you like, reach out to me.
Yeah, this is a friendly man. Pound that like, he knows the Meister likes free things. And no one believes that I have as much Bitcoin as I do. They never will. I look like a freaking bum. I wear T-shirts. I can say how many I had, and people wouldn't believe it still, because no one, people are just like, but the guy with the Lamborghini who's just faking it until he's making it, they'll listen to every altcoin the guy tells them to buy, even though like they've all failed. I mean, and I can say all this out in the open, and people still won't believe me. They just, oh no, the Meister, he's just been around and whatever. I got to listen to the guy with the Lamborghini. He's really, he knows that I got to, and the girl with the bikini and everything. I got to listen to her. I mean, those are the ones who. That's why I don't do these darn shows anymore. I mean, it's just like it's such a joke to the 80%ers, man. But I mean, they get, and they're the ones who had those tweets 3 years ago today. They're like, it's going down more. Oh, the world is ending. Oh, it was. Oh, what a day that was. That really separated the men from the little mice and everything. That was. I bought 2 Bitcoin. All right, sorry. All right, Q. And again, to remind everyone, March 12th and 13th of 2020, because most of your brains out there are totally fried. You can't remember like 2 seconds ago. But 3 years ago, exactly on today, don't do drugs, but most of you still do drugs. But 3 years ago, on this very day, and on the 13th, the whole world panicked over some virus or something like that, and the whole financial everything, Bitcoin went down. Everybody was just so scared. Oh my God! And now look, you look back on it, and it is one of the proudest points in my life that I never backed down. I had conviction. I tweeted it out that I bought 2 that day. I never believed the stuff those people were saying. I never bowed to the government. Never, and I never will. Because I know when a people trust the government, oh, we're only sending you to that camp, but don't worry, you'll be fine. And then you become vermin. And when people are told that other people are vermin, what that leads to, I could see it right away. And everybody says, never forget. Everybody forgot. Most people forgot. Bitcoiners were embarrassing me. I couldn't believe it, begging for Fossey and all these people to save them and panicking and selling their Bitcoin. I can't believe it. And it's, I'm really bringing out the passion, because most of you don't remember. And that's the way the world works today. I don't really remember that. It wasn't that bad. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was disgraceful. And if you did the right thing, you should be proud, and you should be screaming it to the freaking world, baby. Pound that like button. And I'll never stop talking about that beautiful day. That sad day for some, but for me, a beautiful day. And those are the 2, and I own a lot of Bitcoin. Those 2 Bitcoin are the proudest 2 Bitcoin I own. They are the ones that I got those days when the end of the world was coming. Yeah, end of the freaking world. We're in a time of abundance. This is a golden age, people. This is not a zero-sum game. Everybody can be a winner. Come on now. Don't let the government dictate the way you live your life. All right, Q, what are you up to? And we're not done yet. Don't worry, dudes. No, we got passion here. We're gonna wrap it up soon. But Q, tell us something that you're doing. You're in motion. You got the podcast. You're all over. I'm playing basketball in Los Angeles and stuff, baby. Getting injured at the conference.
I do. I've started my own podcast as well, Late Night Bitcoin with Q, the only late night Bitcoin show, Monday through Thursdays here on YouTube and as well on Twitter and all your favorite podcast platforms. And of course, as Adam alluded to, I have torn my Achilles. I can't play sports anymore, but I love sports way too much. So Ulrich and I have gone ahead and we've created the only Bitcoin Ballers podcast where we literally talk about basketball. So for all of the sports ball enthusiasts, come on over and join us. For those who cringe at the idea of talking about sports, come troll us. We don't care. We still talk about Bitcoin from time to time, but just having fun, talking to people and continuing to learn, continuing to stack sats.
Dude, that is, you're bold. You're not an algorithm slave either. I'm going to tell you why, because you're doing late night Bitcoin, late night.
Oh yeah, it's the worst idea. If you care about the algorithm, the stupidest idea ever.
Yeah, like right now, doing it on a Sunday night, but then I'm doing it. It's a bad idea. I don't care. And obviously, I'm showing that I don't give a darn. It doesn't look like I give a darn. But it's doing it late night. I mean, that's not going to get you. That's not going to get you the 80%. So that's not going to get you the. If you had a hot bikini babe, it might help a little bit, but still, even a hot bikini babe at a late night assets, and you're in Los Angeles. I mean, you're on the West Coast. You're on the West. You're somewhere. You're somewhere out there. I don't
go live until 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. your time. Like it is a real late night show. It's not even like the pre-recorded ones here in LA where they record it at 3 and then show it to you at midnight. No. We literally go live at midnight.
Yeah, that's the thing. And the algorithm, by the way, is centered around the East Coast. It favors This is way the freaking more. All right, now I want to ask everybody. I mean, before all this bank stuff broke, some of the big news was Ordinals. Okay, and I want to ask everybody's opinion because it's in the title. The Bitcoin Ordinals, the NFTs. I think it's fine because it's just, you know, if you can do it, do it. All right. One cool thing that it might end up doing is create some ossification of the bit process, where people are going to be scared to make any changes to Bitcoin onto, you know, what might be snuck in. Like this wasn't snuck in, but some people feel like they were cheated. Like, well, I wouldn't be down with the latest BIP if it was what was it called? The latest upgrade they did.
Taproot.
Like, I wouldn't have been down with Taproot if I knew this was going to happen, type of thing. Which is, you know, fine, whatever. So we might not never get another update. So that, I mean, that's interesting, something that could happen from this. But I just see people. No,
streaming is on.
Mike, you're absolutely right. I am so cheap that I don't pay, and still I'm so rich, but yet I'm so cheap. But I've never sold a Bitcoin for fiat. That's another thing that's going on. But I'm so cheap that no, I won't pay for anything that has to do with this YouTube channel. People have complained to me before. Like, yeah, get a better camera. I'm like, you buy me a camera. I tell, you know, people have bought me things. They've been very nice. Some people have got me some things that have improved the show. And I mean, I'm very appreciative. You know, when people
true.
say,
It looks like your camera, like you're from outer space right now.
Oh yeah, people are like, are you using a camera from 1997? Well, basically, I mean, I don't turn on the lights. There's no laptop. It's on a lap. I've shown people my laptop at conferences. I'm like, this is what I use. They're like, this is what you use? I mean, yeah, whatever. That's
it was
all.
like the first. It's like the first MacBook you'd ever have. That's the Meister computer there.
It's funny at Tone's event. We made a little joke where I went into the room and I pretended to steal wine, and they recorded it and they tweeted it out like I'm sneaking wine out, and people actually believe it. Adam, so he took the wine from Tone's thing. It was your wine too, I think. And people didn't understand the joke. You know, I can make fun of myself. You got to be able to make fun of yourself. What were we just? Okay, Ordinals. So what's up? I mean, Mike, you're the entrepreneurial supporter. What do you think about the Ordinals?
Really quick, I don't have much to say. We did a call with Casey. He just reached out before it launched. Like super. I mean, the dude's an all-star, right? I mean, leads the San Francisco Bit Devs. He's the man. It wasn't a project. It's not like an investable thing. We just had like a real quick conversation about it. The only thing I really know about NFTs and Bitcoin are what happens with scarcity in their auctions and things that happen with liquid, like a project called Rare Toshi that's in the sort of NFT space. So the Ordinals is ripe. It's perfect time. But what it ultimately comes down to is what the artists want to use. So if the artists want to use liquid or counterparty or the Ordinals, then that's what it comes down to. So it's cool to see the artists doing it. Hopefully they move away and get rid of this whole counterparty nonsense and whatever. But I really have no opinion on it. I think art is great. I think it's fun. I think it will eventually show that everything is going to come to Bitcoin from these, you know, other chains. So that's just all I think about it.
I love when people say counterparty. It just brings me back to 2015 and 2016 so much. I mean, that's down the drain. I mean, that was the most clunky thing ever. I don't know if since you're not exactly on the side, but still you are on the VC side of things sometimes. What do you think about Stacks? I mean, Stacks is like the modern counterparty. I mean,
yeah, we're anti all things Stacks. So
okay.
If anything comes into the purview that's Stacks related, that's a killer right there.
All right, Neil, your take on Bitcoin NFTs on the main layer or on the second layer or ossification of the bit process? What do you think's coming out of Ordinals? And yeah, Casey is an all-star. He really did. I mean, he's grown in. I knew. Yeah, I'm glad to be familiar with who he is. Yeah, take it away.
I met Casey at a Pacific Bitcoin actually, I think, and he told me about this, and I didn't like it then. I don't like it now, but I'm not one of these like Bitcoiners who is like, we need to fork the network to upset. To me, it's just it almost gave it the Streisand effect. A lot of these Bitcoiners being so anti just like blew it up. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up about it. And no one, What you're really sleeping on, Adam, is Nostr. And I listen to your show, and I heard what you said about Nostr. That is way more important than Ordinals is ever going to be.
Yeah.
It might take some time. I'm telling you.
Well, it's hard. It's really clunky now.
No, it's not better. Do you use an iPhone?
I got one. Yeah, it was given to me for free. Pound that like button. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I can use
download Damus. Okay, you got to trust me. You're gonna love it. You got it. It's gotten so much better in like 2 months.
All right, I've seen other ones. These social networks.
No, I know. I remember Mastodon. I was on that for 10 seconds. I fucking hate. Oh, sorry. I hated it. All right, but this is different. I'm telling you, it's different.
Oh God, I think the Ordinals thing is bigger because it's just this artistic aspect on the base layer. You won't have the people saying, "Well, I can't do this." The STX, the stacks excuse won't be there. It's pure Bitcoin.
Look, there's going to be positive. I think there's going to be positive externalities that come out of Ordinals because you are going to bring people to Bitcoin who normally might have, not looked at it. But it's just not for me. But
I think it also is going to add to the ossification process of Bitcoin. People are going to be scared to change anything about Bitcoin because they don't know what's going to sneak in there. I think that's.
But I'm not technically smart enough to say whether we should be at full ossification or not. I don't know what the right answer is. I've seen people argue on both sides.
Well,
yeah.
People like reliability, and investors do. They don't want something to change the rule. That's the knock on Ethereum. They're constantly changing. You don't know in 100 years if you bury your Bitcoin for 100 years and then go back, you don't know if it's going to still be exactly. Bitcoin ain't changing. It's there, baby.
Yeah, people want certainty. We see that in markets. We see that with the banking system right now. No, I get it. I just don't know what the right answer is. I wish nothing would change, but maybe there's a reason it shouldn't ossify yet. I just, like I said, I'm not.
If there was ever an emergency, a true emergency, it would be unanimous type of thing, like a quantum computing. Oh, there's some fun for your funsters out there. Oh God, quantum computing. That's some fun. It's just recycled and recycled. Oh God Almighty. Oh, all right. The Ordinals for wait, there was something else I was going to say about the Ordinals for Q. What do you think about the Ordinals?
I will caveat everything I'm about to say by saying I'm a free market capitalist, and if this is what people want to spend their money on, i.e. their Bitcoins, sure, fine, whatever. I think it's stupid. I think there's a degree of privilege that, let me put the Taproot wizard on here and yeah, whoa. There's also a question that I have never gotten an answer that I think has sat well with me. We are now changing the idea and fungibility of Bitcoin when, this one Satoshi has, this image inscribed on it, and the next Satoshi does not. So I think there is a slippery slope that's happening. That said, look, I always talk about Iran any chance I get. So you gave me the caveat into it. Iran has one of the worst, most authoritarian governments in the world. They infringe upon people's human rights. This, for the people who are able, and it's very difficult. It's not every single node can just sort of spin up and you can see all of the ordinals that are inscribed, but it will allow the opportunity for those who are in these regions who are, dealing with strict censorship. Hey, you can inscribe information onto these Satoshis. That opportunity, I think, is immensely valuable for the future that we are heading as humanity. Udi inscribing Taproot wizards just shows me how much privilege he has financially.
That's what Noster's for now, censorship resistance, man. You could put stuff like that. You know what it is? A lot of the people who are into Ordinals are people I'm not particularly fond of in the first place. So
yeah,
it's funny.
Tell me how much you don't like Udi without telling me you don't like Udi.
Exactly. That's what you're saying.
It's funny that look, Roger Ver came out right away and was used it as a way to attack Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
All this stats guys who half of them have me blocked on Twitter or whatever, they're all about it all of a sudden, right? So this is just what happens.
It was a good move on Stacks it makes their whole NFT, Bitcoin NFT thing more legitimate. They really marketed it well on that. I'm going to give them credit on that one, baby.
For Casey came out against them and said,
I know. He hardcore attacked them. By the way, I don't have really a problem with Stacks. I'm not as hardcore. It doesn't, but I will say, oh God, that was a beautiful point two beautiful points you made there, Q. In terms of the censorship resistance, I think that is a use case that is out there. I think it is it's a way to redistribute a cultural influence with these little messages and whatnot. But I also, oh God, what was I just about to say with the Udi stuff and the forking. Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, I think I want someone, if someone gets so pissed off about this, let them fork it off. Let them create non-ordinals Bitcoin and see how long it lasts. But yeah, like Jimmy Song and everybody screaming about it, that it was a Streisand effect. That was that was a good point over there. All right. I think did we cover everything I mean, there was so much fun stuff to cover this. I just want to make sure we covered everything that was in the title here. Okay. Yes, we did. All right. That is okay. So let's do our closing remarks here. I'll go back to, can we expect 2023 to be similar to 2019? That'll be you can say again, promote what you're doing and answer that question, and just anything that any news also that you would like to share that you think we left off. So let's start with Mike.
2019 in what way?
In terms of we're going to stick in a bear market. It's just going to be a bear market that is slowly going. Like, we're going to actually, the bull market really started. I mean, we started going up then, but we're not getting back to 69,000 this year. I mean, we're not getting back to the all-time high this year, is what I'm saying. I mean, people, there'll be an aura. There are going to be some things that are happening that are going to be down, that people aren't going to be happy about. The price, there'll be some ups and downs. Like, we had a great Facebook moment during 2019 where they thought Facebook was doing their own cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin went back to 13,000 for a little bit. I mean, for a teeny bit. I mean, we might have a little spasm like that, but I think it'll be a down. It'll be like 2019, a down year. Like 2018 was bad.
I think you nailed it earlier when you said basically 2015. That era of like the drawn out, it feels like we're coming to the end of it. Look, the Gox coins are getting ready to be paid. The first payment of Gox coins, they've like divvied up an amount. I actually have a valid claim. There's like an actual amount. I think it's in March. So, whatever it is, like, it's ironic that that's happening now, but this feels, this 25,000 when we get back up there, I mean, it could be like when we were at $250. That move between 200 to 250, it sat around there for a while. It was coming out of a terrible time to be a Bitcoiner, and it feels kind of like that. And then we were off, just like every other time. That's what it feels like to me, but I can't even predict the price.
Yeah, as the halving approached, like, I think people asked me beforehand, is it going to be the same 4-year cycle? And I wasn't exactly sure, but it is. I'm sure now. And it might be the same 4-year cycle up until 2028 also. I'm more confident in that than I was beforehand. Like, people would ask me, are we going to keep on having these 4-year cycles? Well, probably 2024, but maybe not 2028. More likely it'll be repeated again. I don't know. It just seems like the same things happen, but a lot of rhyming going on here, man. Like it's 1986 Brooklyn rappers. That much rhyming. Oh yeah. All right. Let's Queens, Run DMC. All right. Now let's go to Q. And you again. I forgot to say, it's cool that you combine sports and Bitcoin. I mean, I had to give up a lot on. I gave all my NFL interest basically to focus on Bitcoin. It was a good investment on my part, but I'm addicted to the Baltimore Orioles still. Of course, I couldn't break that addiction. And again, I love orange because of that. But yeah, Taz, your thoughts on this being like 2019, or anything else you want to add? Any news?
I'm careful to say like this is going to be like this year or that year. I think, this will be a bear market year. Absolutely. I think you're right about that. But I also think, unlike those years in the past where we have we are in a full-blown recession, whether the government wants to admit it, whether all of the technical indicators are indicating that. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how things play out. I am not expecting any sort of bull run anytime soon. That said, And I say this after having started the show talking about the fact that, the banks or the Fed has essentially issued a bailout for the banks. Until we see some sort of a capitulation on the quantitative tightening, I don't think there'll be a bull market. We've seen that. For all we know, like, this will kick off a bull market. I don't think it will. I think there needs to be something much more drastic as far as liquidity injection to kick that off. And until that happens, we're just going to be sitting pretty, sort of going sideways for a good chunk of time.
All right, and Neil, I'm actually going to ask you a different question because it's in the show notes. I said I would ask this, talk about it. We didn't talk about it at all. Letitia James in New York, who's just she loves to get attention and she hates cryptocurrency and rich people that don't pay her off, I guess. She said Ethereum was a security, and I don't, I don't like government designations of anything really. So I'm a Bitcoin firster, of course, but I don't think it's, I'm not on her side. I'm not some Bitcoiners like, yeah, Letitia James said Ethereum's a security. I'm not down with that, man. I'm not on the side of freaking Letitia James and the freaking New York state government. Okay. I'm not down like that. So, and I don't think it's good for Bitcoin. I've said if the government ever took down Ethereum, it would hurt Bitcoin. It would hurt Bitcoin. It make people panic about Bitcoin too. Not that the government's going to do that, but your take. I'm putting you on the spot there, Neil. But what was your take on that and your conclusionary remarks too?
So I don't think it would have a long-term negative effect on Bitcoin. Obviously, it doesn't affect the network in any way. Maybe just the price you're talking about of Bitcoin in the short term if something happened with Ethereum. Look, there are securities laws in place. You could have the position where you don't think they should exist at all, which that's fine. But if they do exist, they should apply equally. Why should a company like Apple have to follow certain rules, but Ethereum not if they are a security, a company, with their CEO, Vitalik Buterin or whatever, right? I don't really care about Ethereum. It doesn't interest me. I'm about sound money. The case did lay out reasons why they included Ethereum, and they didn't have to. They included Luna, Terra USD, and they threw in Ethereum there. It almost seems like there is something political there for the reason they did that. It didn't, like I said, it doesn't bother me. They listed the initial coin offering of Ethereum, the transition to staking, proof of stake, and there was one other thing they listed, but I can't remember. We'll see how it turns out. It's New York's trial court, so it's not going to have any great, no precedent for the rest of the country or anything like that, or even for New York State. But we'll see what happens. And just my final thoughts, I guess you said.
Yes.
I tend to agree that 2023 or 2024 is going to really kick off a Bitcoin bull market, and for a while, I was very bearish on the cycle theory, but I've kind of changed my tune. And the reason being, the halving itself, miners are the biggest sellers of Bitcoin, and now they have less Bitcoin to dump on the market when the halving happens. Right? They're mining. The subsidy goes down. It just mathematically makes sense to me. I'm also I feel very spiritually connected with Bitcoin. I just feel there's something in nature that is happening that we can't explain, and the way humans react, and there's this self-fulfilling prophecy and this reflexivity loop where it's just going to happen. Everyone's going to get bullish. Maybe the economy will crash again at the end of this year, and it'll lead perfectly into a time for Bitcoin to kind of skyrocket. We'll see QE, maybe we'll see UBI, crazy shit happen, and then Bitcoin will take off because of it.
All right, that's a good conclusion right there, dudes. It's been great to do This Week in Bitcoin again, to have all this energy, to have these three beautiful guests on. I'm going to be on. People are like, Adam, you don't exist anymore because you don't do shows. But I'm on Twitter every day, guys. TECHBALT. I do little videos. I do videos here. I'll be on Thomas's show. I should just call him Thomas because everyone should know who Thomas is. But most people are newbies and don't know what the World Crypto Network is. It is the originator. And no matter what Thomas says politically, it is the freaking originator. I will be on the show on Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. And there'll probably be 2 more shows on this channel soon after that. I'm, debuting all sorts of t-shirts. Neil, I'll be wearing your t-shirt on the World Crypto Network on Friday. So everybody,
I thought of a great t-shirt idea that I'm making specifically for you.
Make it with the Orioles, man, or Baltimore.
Get out of my. I didn't. You knew what I was going to do already.
Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted a Baltimore or an Orioles Bitcoin shirt.
Why don't you make them a pound that like button shirt?
I got one. I got 2. I got 2.
Wait, Neil. Now I want a Lakers shirt.
No, for YouTube, we have a hat that says baller on it with like the Bitcoin beat. So DM me. I'll send you like a code for that.
No, I don't wear hats. Although I do.
I will rock the hat.
I do wear this. I wear the yarmulke here. I'm gonna say
we need some Bitcoin yarmulkes on our site.
Oh, that would be all. That's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
That is.
I don't know if I could pull that off, but I'll look into it.
In motion. We're coming out with Bitcoin yarmulke ideas on this show. This is amazing. All right, so yeah, everybody, I've been wearing my boxers the entire time. I know there's some of you guys out there that want to see below, but you're not seeing that. That's not this is a family show. No curse. Oh, no cursing. We did well with that today, didn't we? All right, guys. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, DisruptMeister. Subscribe to the channel. Pound that like button. Follow me on Twitter at TechBot. All you Jewish guys, I'm going to say Shema tonight. I'm going to say Shema, of course. In honor of my glorious father of blessed memory, Mel Meister. So take care, everybody. And guests, stay on. We'll say goodbye. We're going to be off the air. So bye to everybody watching. But let me just...
You told us to stay and then left, right? Okay.
That was the most I've ever laughed during a podcast ever.
That was fun.
He has the most energy. It's like he has the energy of like a 10-year-old on cocaine.
Dude, honestly, he